I am. Thank you so much, Kinsey. Right here, we're coming up on 2:01. I know some more people are flooding in, but we have a lot to talk about. And I'm really excited to talk about the 5 things you must do to protect your business from cyber attacks here in 2022 and going forward. This is a deeper dive series. This is our last episode. And so to everyone who's seen all the other episodes the past few weeks, I appreciate you coming. I hope you've been able to learn a lot. But today's episode is basically a blueprint, 5 things, exactly what you need to do to protect your organization. So before we start, I did learn a new word today, and that is infotaining. So this webinar, I'm going to try to make it as infotaining as possible, which means I'm going to deliver some valuable information, tell you exactly what you need, but hopefully is entertaining and we have a good time. So first, we'll start with only one question today, but just for my curiosity, what do you currently have in place to protect your business, your organization, your law firms from cyber attacks? Now, there's a few tools listed, but I'd love to see if you have some, none. Of course, don't be afraid to answer. Your name won't pop up or anything, but just for my curiosity. Let's see. Right. See a few answering. All right. 64% have antivirus. 27% have EDR. If you don't know what EDR is, of course, we're going to talk about that today. Skilled security team, 45%. That I am very intrigued by that. Interested to see what you consider a skilled security team. Password management, backups, of course. Yes, very important. We did a webinar last week on backups. If you missed that, of course, you can go back and see that. But awesome. None of the above, 9%. Well, today, hopefully, you will know exactly what you need regarding securing your organization. But overall, when we do this deeper dive again down the road, hopefully you'll be able to answer that with all of the above. But so what are we here for? We're here for the 5 key things you need to protect your organization. So what you see here is a letter from Ann Neuberger. Now, who is that? So she's currently the acting national security advisor. Basically, she works in the White House and advises the president on all things cyber. And so, of course, with everything going on in the world, cyber and cyber attacks and cybersecurity has been a huge topic. So she has been very, very busy. You may have seen her on TV a few times, but Anne is a very smart lady and a very smart individual. And what you see here is basically in 2021, President Biden, he issued an executive order to all federal agencies telling them you need to do this by this date and all kinds of deadlines. But it really was about a 30 to 40 page book, you call it a book, of telling these federal agencies what they need to do. So, and Ms. Neuberger narrowed it down to about 3 to 4 pages, and she directed it to CEOs, business owners, lawyers, critical infrastructure organizations with the subject. You can see it in there. It's very simple. What we urge you to do to protect from the threat of ransomware. And so we narrowed it down to the 5 key practices. But the reason this letter is important is because it's not, the White House isn't saying, okay, we got this cybersecurity, we'll take care of it for y'all, don't worry. They're recognizing that it is everyone's responsibility to secure your organization, not only your organization, but to take care of your clients, their valuable information. From a medical standpoint, you have all kinds of confidential information regarding your clients and your employees and your patients. So it's your responsibility to protect that information and protect your organization. This is also important, and the timing of this letter was important. Of course, last year, June 2021, because the increase in cyber attacks has been dramatic. It's been exploding, and it's not just the past year, the past couple of years, it's been growing exponentially the past 5 years. And cybersecurity is extremely important here in 2022. Just in 2021, attacks rose insane. You could probably go down the street and find someone that experienced a cyber attack. And so with the increase of attacks, security is important. And so we have the 5 best practices, the 5 things that you need to do to secure your organization, to have the best foot forward to combat a cyber attack. So you see, deploy EDR, endpoint detect and response, use MFA, multi-factor authentication, storage encryption, new threat info, and a skilled security team. Now, we're going to deeper dive into every single one of these, but if you have a notebook real quick, write these down, note these down so you can go back to your skilled security team, or if you're looking for a skilled security team, such as us at IronTech, you have this list, like, I need these 5 things, and they should be able to give you them. But first, what is an EDR? What do you mean by deploy EDR? So this is one of the most important security controls, security tools that you can have within your organization. Now, EDR stands for endpoint detect and response. And basically, it is the substitute, the bigger and better version of an antivirus. So we've been relying on antiviruses for years. That's all we've known. They say you need it. Okay, yep, let's go get Norton. Let's go get McAfee. I'll be fine. Well, the ways to protect our businesses, the ways to protect our servers, our workstations, our laptops, antiviruses is old. And so I'll break down real quick how antivirus works is that it utilizes known virus signatures. It's looking for already known threats. So for it to be known, the threats have to be about 3 to 6 months old and have had to have successful attacks and whitelisted, shared across antiviruses, and now they're looking for that known threat. Well, we don't need something that can monitor and detect something 3 to 6 months old. We need something to stop and detect threats in real time. And so that's where the EDR comes in. That's where we found a replacement. So the way EDR works, it is behavior-based. It uses AI and machine learning, and it monitors the behavior of your workstation, of the user. And so, for example, we'll briefly walk through a ransomware storyline. So user gets an email and it has a file attachment. Maybe it's a Word doc. And so you click on the email and the EDR is continuously monitoring that activity and that computer activity, but it doesn't see anything malicious or out of the ordinary, like an anomaly or something. It's just everything seems normal. Well, you click on the email and it's a phishing email. You don't know because you haven't had continuous cybersecurity training, which we'll get to, but you open the Word doc and the activity behind that, there's specific activity that's supposed to happen every single time you open a Word document. Well, the EDR sees a specific activity happening, but then you click on that Word document and it tries to open a file in the background. From the user standpoint, you wouldn't see that. You're just going about your business, but the EDR sees that as activity that shouldn't happen. That's anomalous. That's out of the blue. That's not normal. So it stops that activity, isolates that possible threat while you're still continuing to work, not slowing you down, but then it's able to basically freeze that process, analyze it. And if it is a threat, kill it and get rid of it immediately, as well as, of course, that's when you have a team behind the whole process that can find out exactly what happened, how it happened, and make sure it doesn't happen again. So an amazing tool, can do crazy things, but that's just the bare minimum. That's one thing that you need. And one thing that what's special about the EDR is the EDR doesn't rely on virus signatures. Not all ransomware has virus signatures. That's where that behavior-based technology comes in. It's able to monitor and stop threats in real time, which is what you have to have now. It's the bare minimum. And what you should expect from an EDR is you should only expect the best of breed, the best of the best technology security tools out there. And real quick, the EDR that we use, I don't give it the name out for security purposes, but on April 1st, actually, last Friday, out of 30 other EDR vendors, they basically put together a whole test, and they make amazing controlled cyber attacks, and they test them on the EDRs. And so the EDR that we used achieved 100% prevention, 100% detection, the highest analytical coverage, 108 out of 109, zero detection delays, and it really demonstrated its ability to stop the most sophisticated threat actors that they could come out with. And so when you go to your security team, or you come to us at IronTech and you say, okay, I need an EDR, I want the best of the best. When you come to us, that's what you're going to get. The best security tool in the world possible for your single law firm, your 10 workstation dental office, your water association out in Kansas. I mean, all businesses, small to medium to large size, are going to get the best of the best security tools and the best of the best EDR when you're working with IronTech Security. The next is use MFA, multi-factor authentication. You're probably seeing this everywhere, and we advise using it everywhere you can. But multi-factor authentication, that's that third-party authentication. Like, you have your username, your specific username, you have your password that hopefully is 10 to 15 characters or more long. We've done a webinar on good password policies and the importance of password management and strong passphrases. But if you have username and password, the next step is having MFA set up. And for us personally, for any of our clients, if you have remote access to anything, then if you have remote access to anything, then MFA is required. There's no if, and, or buts. It needs to be done, because say you have your username and you have a simple password, or even you have a good password, but it's been compromised. If you have remote access and you remote into your desktop at the office, which has access to everything, well, if those credentials are compromised and the cyber attacker has your login password, they're able to remote in to your desktop with your credentials, and they have the keys to the kingdom. They're able to access everything, and that's a hard cyber attack to stop if they look like you, if we think it's you. And so that's where the MFA comes in. So they have your username, they have your password, they try and log in. Well, oh crap, MFA pops up. They need a 4 to 8-digit code. And so what they'll have to do next is reach in my pocket without me knowing. They're gonna have to reach in my pocket and grab my phone and get that 4-digit code to log in to your server, to your workstation, whatever they're trying to access. It's that extra layer of security that's needed, and that's essential. And it also helps with human error. Of course, phishing emails, we deal with them every single day. If you have training in place, of course, that's a good way to combat that. But sometimes human error is inevitable. And so MFA helps with that. If you say you run into a phishing email that asks for your credentials, well, you're having an off day, you just type them in, and now they try to log into something that those credentials are used for, maybe Facebook. Well, if you have MFA set up, when they try to log in, you'll get a notification. One, you'll be aware that you didn't log in, of course, and so something's going on. But that MFA is keeping them from accessing whatever it is they're trying to. So MFA, amazing tool. If you have remote access to anything, any workers remote from home or remoting into a server, MFA should be a necessity, bottom line. Next is use encryption. Turn on disk encryption and put it, make sure it's required for all portable devices. And Newberger says, well, first, encryption, basically it is in better lack of better words, it's jumbling up all the information you have. So if it is hacked or if it is breached, when they access that data, they don't have, basically, it doesn't make sense to them. They don't have that decryption key to unencrypt or decrypt the information and make sense out of it. So basically, if they have access to your laptop, or say you threw away your old server, you're using it to the end of its life, trying to get out of as much out of it as possible, which happens, that's okay. And then you throw it away. Well, data stays on those devices, on that hard drive, a little bit longer than you expect. And so actually a way that some cyber criminals make money is that they'll take those old devices, they'll take those old hard drives, and they get the information from them and sell them on the black market. Well, of course, if there's encryption in place, the information is useless. But if not, now your confidential information that you expected was thrown away and useless is now now money's being made off of it, just because a simple step of turning on encryption was ignored. But it overall decreases those attack vectors. It adds that layer of security where, when we talk about layers of security, you can think of like an onion. So onion has layers. You have more layers of security that you have to go through basically to have a successful attack. And so if one layer fails, you have another security layer right behind it to stop that attack. And so encryption is that extra layer, decreasing those attack vectors, overall making the information useless if something does happen. Next, you have continuous defensive improvements. This is extremely important, and this is also where that InfoSec team comes in. So you have to understand how threats are changing, where they're coming from, and adapt with them. So cyber threats, they're changing every single day. And as you've seen, we're changing as well. Of course, we've had antivirus. Now we're going to the EDR. We have to adapt with the changes with the different attacks. But you also have to think about these cyber threats aren't going away. They're only going to continue getting better and better. And so you have to adjust your defense as needed, as you have to. And I like to think of it like this. So I'm a sports guy. I love football, but it really can go for any sport. But you think of a head coach as your InfoSec team. So a head coach is trying to win the football game. And you hear a lot, defense wins championships. So we'll think of it this way. So first half of the game, you're going back and forth. The offense you're playing against is throwing things at you that you've never seen before. And you have to make adjustments, quick adjustments. And so at halftime, you evaluate, you analyze, and you make the necessary defensive adjustments to keep them out of the end zone, to keep them from scoring, because you don't score, you don't win. And at the end, the defense adjustments that you make, the security controls, the security changes that you make to defend your organization, to keep from a successful ransomware attack happening, affecting your organization, are critical to the overall protecting your business, to protecting your clients, protecting your employees. So not everything is going to be just the same bottom line for every organization. You have to make adjustments. And that's where the security team comes in. And that's where those improvements, not just adjustments, those defensive improvements are critical. When you talk about updates and security patches, those are very important subjects that, from an IT perspective, may just be ignored or skipped. And so when I say that, so there is a difference between IT and InfoSec because they just have different objectives. IT is about production, keeping everything running, and InfoSec is a security first organization. They're always thinking about security first, security over convenience. And so when you think about installing security patches, from an IT perspective, they may assume or they may know that this update could be a little buggy, and so it might slow some things down. We'll get back to it later when the bugs are fixed. Well, from an information security standpoint, those updates could contain security patches that are critical to whatever software you're using, or critical to your operations. And so InfoSec, of course, they've studied the update. They understand what bugs to expect and prepare accordingly for that. But no matter what, they do not put convenience over security, because one simple ransomware attack can put you out of business. And so we'd prefer not to take that chance and have the preventative measures, those defensive controls put in place and updated to make sure nothing slips through. There's no gaps in our security. Talking about Intel, there's a bunch of different resources that you can utilize, but there's CISA, FBI, Dark Reading, as well as us. You can go to our website. We actually have great resources that can keep you up to date with what's going on, new threat actors, new defense methods, things like that. A great resource if you're interested in some of that extra intel, the extra information. Next is, I say EDR is the most important, but this is number one, because if you get a skilled security team, then you're going to get the EDR. But a skilled security team, a team of information security specialists, or a MSSP, is vital for all of this, to make sure your business has a security posture that it needs to be at. And so by utilizing a skilled security team, MSSP, and when I say MSSP, that stands for Managed Security Service Provider. You may hear MSSP, MSP, Managed Service Provider, maybe from like a managed IT organization, but that's what that means. But a skilled security team is vital, because these 5 things, like I said, you should expect from your security team. If you simply have a team of InfoSec specialists, all 5 of these things are included, no matter what. This is what they're doing. This is what they should be doing. But a skilled security team keeps up with changes in geopolitical dynamics. At the beginning of the year, no one planned for the event overseas that's currently going on. And so when that did happen, we had to make certain adjustments, because, of course, Russia is known for ransomware attacks, and they have insane cyber criminals and cyber teams. And so we had to prepare for an influx of activity from that region of the world. And of course, we prepared correctly. The increase in activity and attempted attacks increased just like we had planned for. And so by us keeping up with those changes in geopolitical dynamics, we were prepared. Your security team also, like I said, those continuous defensive improvements. This is what we do here at IronTech Security. This is what your team of information security specialists does day in and day out. This is their profession. They're the best. You should expect the best of the best out of your InfoSec team, because they know the new threat technologies, such as the EDR that we use. We know it's the number one in the world, and so that's why we use it, because that's what our client should get. We should not settle because of cost or anything for a second best or a third best, because if it only takes one cyber attack, one ransomware attack, to not only put your organization out of business, ruin your reputation, affect your clients, their safety is at risk. And so the skilled security team, by only accepting the best of the best, is keeping all of that in mind to protect everyone. But what comes with the skilled security team is that 24/7 monitoring, investigating, responding, orchestration. And so when I say orchestration, the way we approach a new or IronTech client is that one, you have to understand the scenario that you're going in, what you're actually protecting, what needs to be protected, find your vulnerabilities. And then once you basically have understand what's going on, the review of the story, basically, then you can plan and orchestrate to put controls in place to fill those security gaps that an organization may have. Understand that, okay, we can only have 3 days of downtime if everything goes wrong. Okay, well, you need a specific backup in place to allow that. Or if that does happen, we need to have a backup server in place to get things up and running as soon as possible. If it's vital to your operations, to your clients, you need to, one, understand exactly what you have, what you don't have, what you're protecting, and then develop a plan to address all of those. And that's what your skilled security team will do for you. But overall, a skilled security team, a team of InfoSec specialists, IronTech security is needed because information security is it's not do it yourself anymore. You need professionals. You need a team behind you to one, help you sleep better at night, because this is something serious. And you're seeing that all over the world, all different organizations, small, medium, and large. Cyber attackers, they don't just pinpoint one small organization in Missouri. No, they're shooting their attacks out, those phishing emails out in hundreds of thousands, reaching for everyone and anyone that will bite. And so it's not a sniper shot. It's like a shotgun blast. They're going for anyone and everybody. And cybersecurity is serious. And so you need someone serious behind you, partnering with you to make sure you have everything in place that you need to. And some other recommendations. So those are the top 5, of course, and some other recommendations to think about and consider depending on how your organization operates. One is company-owned equipment for remote access. So basically keeping it separate between personal equipment for work and company-owned equipment for work. Of course, when you're using company-owned equipment, your security tools are on that, and it's a controlled environment. But when you mix a personal device into that environment, onto your network or remoting in to something, we don't have our security controls on there. So now any active threats or malware that's on that workstation can either overflow into your network or access your server or wherever you're remoting in. It's just not a controlled environment. In a uncontrolled environment comes risk. And so that's some recommendation that you can consider depending on how your organization operates. Of course, password manager, real quick, password vaults and password managers are extremely important. The health and strength of your credentials are extremely important. We believe in zero trust. And so that means not one person should have access to everything, because if you are in that situation and your credentials can access anything and everything on your network in your business, then if those become compromised, then they have the keys to the kingdom. They can do whatever at will. And so a password manager helps with, one, the strength of your passwords. It can create them for you. You don't even have to memorize it. It comes with autofill, but it also can show you your overall password security strength, which I think is amazing. So you hop on, you might start at 15% security strength, and then by the end of the week, you're at 90 because you changed your passwords and might have moved to passphrases. This whole a whole lot of different things you can do, but password manager helps you make sure your credentials are to the security level that they need to be. Managed and secure website. This is another attack vector for malware and different types of cyber attacks. Continuous security awareness training, extremely important because your employees, that's your first line of defense. Phishing emails, sharing passwords, weak credentials all start with your employees. Human error. Like I said, human error is inevitable. It just happens. We could be tired, have an off day, don't even think about it, click on a link, and now your business is at risk. Well, it's not their fault, but there's something you could do about it. Train your employees. It says continuous. Threats change, and so the training will change and adapt as well. But you need to equip your first line of defense, your employees, with the proper tools and training so that they can keep the company's best interests in mind when going about their operations and not fall victim to a cyber attack. And the last one is setting the tone at the top, creating a security first culture, starting from the CEO all the way down to the bottom, or to the owner all the way down to the bottom. Everyone has to keep cybersecurity in mind in the front of their heads, because you deal with it and you interact with cyber attacks, cyber training, or cybersecurity every single day. And like Ann Newberger said, it's not just the White House's objective. It's not just their responsibility. It's not just IT's responsibility. It's not just the InfoSec team's responsibility, which that is their main responsibility, but it's everyone's. And so by creating that cybersecurity first culture, it just, one, adds that extra layer of security that you need, but it's putting the responsibility, sharing the responsibility across the whole organization, as it should be. Right at the bottom, you see a quick link. Kinsey will throw that into the chat box, but this is just a signing up for threat intel. It's not any marketing emails or not a marketing list. It's just keeping up with day-to-day threats and what's going on around the world and the cybersecurity world. But those are the key 5 things that you need to protect your organization, plain and simple. Very easy steps, and it can start by talking with InfoSec specialists, talking with me. Like I said, there's a whole process to understanding what your organization needs, how to secure them. Every organization is different. So bring in a specialist, first understand what those threats are, what you need to protect, and then orchestrate that plan to put the security controls in place to fill those gaps, create those layers of security that's needed. So if one fails, you have a backup. If that backup fails, you have another backup. Having those security layers in place, that no matter what, you know that you're protected, your clients are protected, your patients are protected, and then your employees don't have to wake up in the morning and see that blank, blank, blank in New York fell victim to a ransomware attack. There is that meeting.irontechsecurity.com. That'll be in the chat box. If you're looking to schedule a quick meeting, you can also email us at sales@irontech.com. But also my personal line is up there. Give me a call. I definitely want to speak to you, understand what's going on, answer any questions you have. Speaking of questions, of course, there's Q&A. You can leave them in the chat. Let me see here if we have any questions. Hey, Kay.
Gavin, we do have a question. I keep hearing the term brute force attack. What is it?
So brute force attack, and that is a good question. So one, there's different attack type of cyber attacks that can happen, but regarding a brute force, so we talked about credentials and password strength. So brute force is basically just trial and error. It's attempting to log in or guess that password over and over again until you get it right. And so that's a brute force attack, but it touches on the importance of password strength and good password policies. If you sit at your desk every single day and your username is already logged in, but you have your password written on a sticky note right on your computer, I mean, it's very easily for that brute force attack to work because they only got to try once. Or if your password is the same as your username, brute force, I mean, it'd probably be my second guess, maybe my first, and that'd be a very easy brute force attack. But also simply just sharing credentials. If you use one password for everything, that's not good, because if they find out one, of course, they're going to try it for other accounts, for other admin accesses or things like that. And so it comes back to the strength of your credentials. That might have been a longer answer than expected, but a brute force is trial and error, trying to guess or just find that login by error, by just testing one, move on, testing one, move on. So that's what a brute force attack would be.
Okay, we do have another question.
Yes.
If the below is part of an email a client received regarding an information breach, what should they do? And then it says the purpose of this email is to help protect you from becoming a target of phishing attacks and alert you to the type of information that was compromised. And then it says that their first, last name, email, and phone number have been compromised. And then it says phishing attacks may not be limited to these categories alone. So we recommend being extra vigilant for suspicious activity or contact.
Okay. That's okay. That's a good question. So how would I address that? So to me, just that's a lot of information at once. And so to me, taking out the pinpoint, talk about phishing emails and what should we do, making you aware to be on the lookout for things like this. To me, this comes back to a training. To me, it comes back to cybersecurity training, because phishing, we can just stop on phishing emails real fast. So one thing that we do at IronTech Security, of course, we have training programs, continuous, once a month, very quick and short and easy to the point training for all employees. But we also have simulated custom phishing emails that we send out from IronTech. And for example, it could look like it's coming from Facebook and say, hey, you need to change your password, type in your credentials, something like that. Well, at the top of the email, it says it's coming from Facebook, and you click on it and it may say orange123@gmail or something like that. Well, if you don't look at that and you actually click on the link, okay, yeah, I'm ready to type in my credentials. Well, it'll pop up, hey, you've been phished by IronTech Security. This is how we got you. This is what to look out for. This is what you should have done. These are how attacks are happening right now around the US, or these are type of phishing emails that are going out. But when they run into that situation in the real world, excuse me, geez, in the real world, they have the proper training and they know what to look for, so they wouldn't fall victim to kind of the situation that you were talking about regarding your question. But it all comes back to training, because when your employees know what to look for, they are properly trained so they won't fall victim to being scammed, or they won't just click on a link immediately when they get it, or just open a document immediately when they get it. They're being aware. They have that security first culture. Then things like risk like this, you don't really have to worry about them as much. And like, once again, you sleep a little bit better at night, because you know that your front line of defense, your employees, they're ready for a potential cyber attack. They know what to do. They have the training in place. Another long answer, but I hope that answered the question.
Well, that's all we have on the questions. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. I know we went a little bit over, but there will be a follow-up email that goes out, so you will have a copy of this recording. So do with it with what you will. And we're going to start doing the webinars monthly. They'll be at the end of the month, every month, and Davin will be doing those. So we'll just be switching from every week to every month, and we hope that you can make it.
Definitely. Well, it was great speaking to everyone, of course, over these past few weeks. I hope we were able to learn a lot, and I hope this webinar was infotaining, got some valuable information. It was entertaining. Hopefully we'll keep that once a month. I hope to look forward to seeing you. Once again, the meeting link and the threats intel link is in the chat box, but also feel free to shoot me an email, and I look forward to getting calls from you all here soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.